Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. In front of us here is a little package, and to be honest with you, I don't remember what's inside. This came in the mail probably a month ago, and I've just had a stack of things waiting to be unboxed and record. So I don't know what's in here. It feels like it's probably an iPhone or an iPod. Let's get it opened up, see what's inside, and find out if we have ourselves a rare device. You'll probably already know from the thumbnail, but either way, it's still exciting for me to get this thing opened up, so let's begin. All right, so it is an iPhone 5C. I do remember buying this. It should be running iOS 7. Kind of scratched there on the back. Front appears to be in decent condition. Quite a big scratch up there on the camera. Or is that a crack? I can't really tell, but let's see if this thing has any power or if we're gonna need to plug it in. And it does have power, but I am also gonna plug it in because sometimes these phones power right back off after they turn on because the batteries are pretty old. So there we go. While that's charging, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a clean so we have ourselves a fresh iPhone to work on. All right, here's our iPhone. It cleaned up pretty nice. Obviously you can't clean scratches off the display and you can't clean dents and scuff marks off the back, but apart from that, pretty clean device, and as you can tell, we've got slide to unlock with the stock iOS 7 5C wallpaper. Moment of truth, and looks like we've got ourselves iOS 7 red music icon as well as the Passbook app with 3 rows there. We'll head into settings, general, and about, and we can see 7.0.2, so a very early version of iOS 7. I don't know if the iPhone 5C shipped with iOS 7.0, but this has to be one of the first versions. It's at most the third version of iOS that this iPhone got. If you're well versed on your Apple history, you'll know that the iPhone 5C launched in 2013 alongside the iPhone 5S, which looked almost identical to this iPhone SE here. So these would have shipped at the same time, the 5S and the iPhone 5C. This was the first time Apple introduced a budget phone instead of dropping the price of last year's flagship. So the iPhone 5 traditionally would have been the place here of the iPhone 5C at that $100 price point with a 2-year contract, but Apple changed things up and they introduced a whole new phone for that mid-range model. The iPhone 4S stayed in the lineup as the low-end configuration for 2013. And the iPhone 5C, while it was a new phone and a new design, the internals are identical to the iPhone 5. So it's got an 8 megapixel lens, good for HD photos, 720p, 30 FPS video. Not the best thing in the world. It's also got obviously a headphone jack down here, a lightning connector. We've got 4 little holes there for the speaker, 1 for the microphone. We do have redesigned buttons over here. So instead of the rounded off metal buttons found on the 5, 5S, and SE, we have more of a elongated plastic feel to the buttons there. Same with the top, no more metal buttons, instead a shift to plastic. The iPhone 5C launched in an array of colors. White, blue, green, yellow, and pink were the color options for the iPhone 5C. At launch it came in 16 and 32 gigabytes, and I didn't even check what capacity this one is. So this is a 16 gig, so you could get this in 16 or 32, and then a year later, an 8 gig model came out, and that would be the lowest configuration on an iPhone that supports iOS 10, which is where this thing finishes its support. So it launched with 7, and it would get updates 8, 9, and 10. So 3 years of software updates, not the best run in the world. Nothing like the iPhone 5S, which would get iOS 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So the processor in the 5C and the iPhone 5 really limited this device. It is a dual-core A6 chip. I believe it's clocked at 1.3 or 1.4 gigahertz. I think it's 1.3. It's got a single gigabyte of RAM. Very capable device, and this phone is super smooth on basically every version of iOS that it shipped with. Same with the iPhone 5. Even iOS 10 on these devices is pretty snappy in comparison. There's that iOS 7 multitasking menu. And one thing that's super cool, and I love this, is the slide to power off on the early versions of iOS 7. They have this very unique squared off design not found on any other versions of iOS. I think up until 7.0.6 or 7.0.4, something like that, they switched over to the more rounded slide to power off. So pretty interesting little tidbit there. Apart from that, nothing too interesting here on the 5C, but I've got another one on iOS 7 for my collection. Pretty cool device, and I love the plastic feel, even though it feels a little bit cheaper than the aluminum of the premium phones. There's still something pretty nice about how solid the plastic feels, and you don't feel like you have to baby the phone. It feels rugged, and this thing is actually pretty tanky. This thing could take quite a few drops. As you can see, this one has been through a little bit more than a delicate case and a protected lifestyle. So this phone has seen some action and for some reason never got updated. So that's why it's in my collection now. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at an iPhone 5C running iOS 7.0.2 here in 2024. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.